Hey guys, Gino V here, talking about the stuff I like to talk about. We're still on Itsusoa here, my little Catalina 25 in Mission Bay, San Diego. So today I wanted to talk about the term or the phrase money can't buy happiness, and that quintessential study that everybody likes to quote where, after $75,000, people don't get any happier, right? After your basic needs are met in terms of like a house, an okay, safe area, food that's okay, insurance, and anxious about medical expenses, etc. But that's kind of the upper limit, right? Everybody says 75,000. Okay, cool. I always thought that was funny because for me, money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy choices, options. And the more options you have, the more freedom you have to choose between the options, right? So I always thought that was interesting. First, that study was from 2010, right? It was from Pennsylvania University, I believe. I was just doing research before making this video. So that amount of money now, today, wouldn't be 75,000. It'd be more like 108,000, right? So big difference already, just keeping up for inflation. That's a big switch. But then there was another study done. I believe this one was at Princeton. Might have been Georgetown. Give me half a second here. University of Pennsylvania. Yep, that was the quintessential study. Oh, sorry. Princeton was the one from 2010. And the University of Pennsylvania study done in 2021 showed something very different. Their study showed that money just kept increasing happiness, like well past $500,000. So obviously there was a huge discrepancy, right? And they said, well, that's funny. This one says anything more than 75K, i.e. 108 now, doesn't increase happiness. And this other one says, actually, the more money you can make, the happier you'll be, basically, as a baseline. And I always thought that was interesting in terms of offering you more choice. So the two universities, Princeton and Pennsylvania, did a joint study, I think what's called an antagonistic study, right? Where they said, well, we found two different things, so let's run another study together and see who was right. See which one was right. Was it the 108 or the 500K? And like everything, it turns out the answer is somewhere in between. The bulk of the happiness steps in around 108,000, like the 80-20 rule, right? So the Pareto principle, the bulk of the happiness comes in around 108,000. But it also is true that you do get slight increments all the way up to $500,000 and beyond, right? This intuitively makes a ton of sense to me. Yes, the bulk of the happiness is caused by not being anxious about where you're going to live, or if you can feed your family, or what happens with a medical expense, or your car continually breaks down because you can't afford a reliable car, or you can never take your kids to Disneyland, or you can never buy a movie or go out to eat dinner, whatever. All of that's taken up by the 108,000. But then you still have at 108, if you're, a family surviving off of that, that means you're definitely working the W-2 and you're not going on vacation whenever you want. You can't go out and eat whenever you want. You can't eat whatever you want. You can't go to travel to whatever country at whatever point in time. As soon as you decide you want to do it, that's not possible. You can't go out and try something without any abandon, right? And say, oh, I want to get into sailing and boating. I'm going to go buy a boat and try it out. Or I'm going to go rent as much as I need to figure out if I like sailing. You can't do that at 108, not in the U.S. anymore, and certainly not in San Diego, California, right? I know in a lot of countries that's a ton of money, especially in dollars, but here it's good money for sure, but not crazy at all. Actually, it's kind of hard to survive as a family off of that, I'd argue, because you only end up with 70 after taxes, 65. You throw in a place that could cost you 25 grand a year to live in, if not more, and insurances for cars and other stuff that totals, over 2,000 as well, and the money starts to run out really fast. So what do you get at 500K or just more money that you don't have at 108? And I'd argue you got rid of all the anxiety and the worries at 108, but you didn't gain all the choices. You didn't have all the freedoms. You could have a reliable car, but you couldn't have whatever car you wanted. You can go on one vacation a year with your family, but you couldn't travel to Europe or Africa or Japan whenever you wanted for as long as you wanted. You could be secure knowing that you have a job, but you could also still be fired, right? And it's not like you have a huge nest egg to live off of. So you have this funny duality where you're kind of in between, where you got rid of most of the worries, but you haven't gained all the choices. How do you gain all the choices? Well, I don't think that ever ends, right? Because then you're blending into the hedonistic ladder of choice, where it just turns into nicer and nicer stuff instead of like meaningfully different stuff. The difference between no boat and a sailboat from 1981 is a huge difference, right? On one, you're on a boat, you're sailing, you're learning, you're doing stuff, you're traveling, you're getting these memories. What's the difference between a 25-foot sailboat and a 30-foot sailboat? Well, you know, there's more volume, it's nicer, maybe you got room for a real shower inside and a real bathroom. Okay, and from 30 to 40, well, maybe the same thing, you got an extra bedroom, right? But that all adds choices to sailing. The initial jump from no boat to one boat is huge, no matter what that kind of boat is, right? So I'd argue what I was seeing from those studies is the same thing for happiness in terms of getting rid of your worry. The jump from tons of worry to no worry is enormous, or at least less worries. It's huge. It represents a bulk of the happiness. But it doesn't take away that most people would be happier with more choice. And I think it's important to recognize that, because a lot of people would just talk it down to an excuse and say, well, you know, happiness is entirely just a state of mind that you can choose. I agree with aspects of that, but I also don't agree with it all the time, or at least in every facet. I don't know. If you told me, Gino, would you rather be doing the job you're doing now, or, you know, just have consistent money coming in and you can just decide what to do with your time? I think everybody would choose the latter, right? It's not that nobody wants to work. I think everybody wants to work on things that are meaningful to them and productive for them. Those just might not pay a lot, you know, or at all. You might want to do it in a philanthropic point of view and just donate your time and money and effort, or business, whatever you create. So don't settle for the phrase "more money, more problems." I don't think that's true. I'm not saying to go out there and be greedy. Don't prioritize money for the sake of money. But maybe it's okay to recognize the level of money that brings about financial independence and gives you choice and lets you choose. What do you want to do? You want to go to France for a week? Go to France for a week. You want to pick up sailing? Pick up sailing. You want to join that racket club or learn to play polo? Yeah, you can figure out how to rent horses and learn to play. Like, that's, the money doesn't stop you from making the choice. I don't think money makes you happier in terms of the hedonistic ladder, right? Which is the other facet in terms of, well, I've got, you know, this watch that my aunt gave me for graduating high school that I pay more to maintain now than the watch is worth. Would I be happier if I bought a slightly nicer watch? It's the only nice-ish watch I have, right? Would I be happier if I bought a nicer watch? Yeah, for a little. But then, you know, I'd get used to it, and then I'd need an even nicer watch to make myself reach the same level of happiness. That's the hedonistic ladder. That's not what I'm talking about. And that's not why I'm saying you should go and earn or try to earn more than the 108,000 or whatever the study showed. I just want you guys to have the choice. I don't want you guys to be at the end of your lives and think, wow, if only I had the money to be able to do this, I would have loved to be able to do that. And for me, it always comes back to experiences with my friends and family. I feel really bad that I missed a bachelor party trip because I didn't have the money on hand to go and do it. That was the only reason. I had the time. I love this guy and his friends, and my brothers went and I didn't. And that's a big mistake on my part. And I hate that feeling. I really do, because this wasn't about nice stuff. This was about missing out on life events that when I'm on my deathbed, I will have wished I could have gone, or would have gone, or swallowed my pride and figured out how to get the money to go, right? That's what I'm saying you guys should try to avoid. That's what I'm trying to impart on you guys. Not the nicer car, not the nicer watch, not the designer TV set, whatever. Just the experiences and the people, the freedom of choice, the options. You guys can do it. I can do it. It's as much a reminder to myself as anybody else. If you guys are enjoying so far and any of this makes sense, please let me know down below. I like to talk about this kind of stuff: financial freedom, choice, investment, crypto, Bitcoin. Obviously, I live slightly alternative of a lifestyle. I don't live on my little Catalina, but I sure do spend a lot of time out here. It helps me think. It helps me think. Something about being outside and in nature. I love sailing, I love the ocean, I love boating. So I'll be doing that a lot more. Once upon a time, I also had a regular W-2, and I created an opportunity for myself and found my way through and was lucky in some respects, and now I'm here. Today's Sunday, but I could come out on Tuesday or Wednesday and film these videos. That choice came through the agency of my own actions and nothing else. A little bit of luck, sure, but it's luck that I acted upon, right? Opportunities that I took in hand that stumbled before me. So I know you guys can do it too. It just depends on what kind of opportunity you want to value and what choices you want. For me, this is priceless already. Like I said, the difference from no boat to one boat is it couldn't be bigger. I've learned so much and I've appreciated so much in the short, 3-4 months I've owned this thing. So you guys are good. Everything's good. We'll be on the other end of this. I just wanted to share my thoughts on more money, more problems, or money can't buy you happiness. I wouldn't be so sure as long as you're focused on options and freedom with your family and your friends instead of just stuff. Gino out.